lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Sunday the 8th of December. My name is Owen, and here is what is on my mind today. So firstly, a little bit of housekeeping for you, as is now a tradition, brief tradition. Today's avocado chocolate is a present. Very nice. And a quick follow-up from a story I did last week. Elon's only gone and done it. He's gone and won his defamation case. So, yeah, I did a story about defamation case launched against Elon Musk about comments he made about Mr. Unsworth, the cave diver who helped rescue the children in Thailand, and the whole pedo guy comment and all this lot. And I thought, reading the story, I thought, you know what, Elon's not going to get out of this one. He said it, he followed it up, he had an investigator look into the guy, which was all evidence that he thought there was, in my mind, was something there, and he stood by his tweet. But the courts have ruled otherwise, and they've said, no, it was just an insult. It was not an accusation, it was just an insult between two men who were kind of a bit fractious with each other after Mr. Unsworth had said something about Elon's offer of this submarine, you know, and Mr. Unsworth said, hey, you know, you can shove that where the sun don't shine, and he'd said, you know, creepy pedo guy and all this lot. Anyway, he's won. He's won, and part of his defence was Mr. Unsworth's lawyers had claimed that he'd suffered real sort of harm afterwards to his life. However, Mr. Elon Musk's lawyers have pointed out, well, since after the statement was made, you were still honoured by the King of Thailand, you still met the British Prime Minister, you still got invited to speak at school. So clearly it's not had the negative impact you feel it was. Those groups would not want to be associated with you and have photographs with you and essentially big you up if they thought for a second there was any validity to my statement. So clearly they took it how I meant it, and that was the backbone of his defence, and he's won. So Elon's been cleared. I'm surprised, to be honest, but again, it's that freedom of speech laws kind of stood firm in the US. So that's it. I mean, it's a result. I respect it. It was a court. I was not there, so I do not know the finer points of it. I'm surprised it went the way it went, based on what I knew about the case, and obviously I don't know everything. But yeah, so that's all done with. But it's interesting because I followed this story from the beginning where he said, look, you know, if it's not true, sue. So that's exactly what Mr. Unsworth did. And then we followed the trial through last week, and it was like, yeah, I could see this going against him, but no, it's come out in his favour. So there you go. That's all done with. Yeah, so let's move on. So what about today? Well, as usual, I've picked out 5 stories making the headlines and wanted to give my thoughts on. Links are in the description below so you can read each article in full and show the original publications some love. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Story number 1. Story number 1 is in BuzzFeed News. Again, this is a bit of a follow-up. Peloton wife in the new ad spoofing the exercise bike commercial, and people love it. So yeah, some BuzzFeed News. So again, following up, for those of you who don't know, there was a Peloton advert they put out, and it was, regardless what the intention was, it was really badly received because it was basically a guy buying his wife a Peloton bike for Christmas, and then her sort of vlogging all her workouts, and over a year, and then sort of, oh, thank you darling for buying me this, it's changed my life. And it just came across as, yeah, it's a bit creepy, it's a bit controlling, it's a bit implying almost that your wife needs to lose weight. And the woman in the advert was clearly in fantastic shape at the beginning and at the end. She looked like no different at all. So this year had passed and it made not a bit of difference to her. So anyway, you can check that out. But Ryan Reynolds, being very Ryan Reynolds about it, has made a joke of it. So yes, the actor tweeted a video for his aviation gin company Friday night with the caption, exercise bike not included. And the video shows 3 women drinking gin at a bar. And it begins with a close-up shot of a woman in the middle who just happens to be the same actor who played the wife in the Peloton advert. She's called Monica Ruiz. She's just got this dead-eyed look in her face like she's been through something horrific. And she's like, "This gin is really smooth," she says flatly with a glassy-eyed expression that indicates she may have seen some. Yeah, yeah, we'll get you another one. A friend says reassuringly. "You're safe here," says the other. So, to new beginnings, Rue's character announces before 3 clink glasses, and she proceeds to guzzle her entire cocktail glass of gin as her friends look on concerned. "It's going to be a fun night," one says before sliding her another glass. "You look great, by the way." Another is heard saying off camera at the end of the video. Now, the video was tweeted from the Aviation Gin Twitter account with the caption, "This holiday, gift responsibly." Yeah, so if you look at it, it's the impression I get from the ad is that this is kind of like after the Peloton ad, chronologically, and that she's left her husband because you get this whole new beginnings thing. And it's the look at her face at the beginning, it's very kind of reflective, like, I can't even, like, she's been through something terrible, and her friends are there just to big her up, and it's like, new beginnings. And but yeah, Ryan Reynolds, he's the man. He's famous for this kind of stuff, for trolling things online, and obviously with the whole Deadpool thing. I'm just going to move the camera just a little bit. With Deadpool, obviously, he did loads of this in regards to promotional sense, and he's always likes to kind of poke fun at himself and other people. So they've taken this this advert and just put a spin on it, and again using the same actress is just fantastic. It's a fantastic little touch. A little bit about the Peloton thing. The ad was so universally dunked on that Peloton came out to defend it, saying it was disappointed in how some of them misinterpreted it. The company's stock tumbled 15% and the market value fell by $1.5 billion in response to the backlash. The Wall Street Journal reported, yeah. Requests for comment from Aviation Gin and the Peloton wife actress were not immediately returned on Saturday, but it appears a lot of people are really rooting for her. So, yeah, it's just, they took this advert, which was, it's not just funny, but it's so clever, because they have taken all of that garnered interest in the Peloton ad, all of it, because it was all over the media. So they've managed to get all that kind of advertising furore and then just bring it to their brand, and had to do very little other than Ryan Reynolds, who's got a very big Twitter following, just tweet it, and now it's gone viral again. And because it's mocking an advert which had so much, so many eyes on it, it's now brought it straight across, and it's like in a positive way as well. So it's just genius. It is funny. Do watch it. I encourage you to go see it. Watch the Peloton one first, then watch this one, and just imagine it's. Imagine there's a bit in the middle where this woman kind of looks at the whole Peloton advert, looks at that as people have been looking at it, as the general public looking at it, going, this is, now that I look at it, this is kind of, isn't this a little weird that my husband bought me this? And then watch the Aviation Gin one. It's perfect. It's brilliant. Anyway, moving on to story number 2. So this is in CNBC Make It. This is Goldman Sachs CEO takes the subway, gets his own coffee, and has a side hustle as a DJ. Yeah. So, Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon isn't your average C-suite executive. Yes, he made $23 million last year, but since taking the helm at the investment bank from Lloyd's Blankfein in October 2018, he's been eschewing Wall Street's stuffy ways. So yeah. 57-year-old Solomon, for instance, is known as Diesel on weekends, where he performs a side gig as a classic rock DJ at nightclubs in New York City, Miami, and the Bahamas. He also rides a subway to work and prefers to fetch his own coffee at the office. His thoughts are, why wouldn't you take the subway? Solomon told Fortune recently. No, seriously, it's quicker and more efficient. The mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, can take the subway, so why can't the CEO of Goldman Sachs? In reality, excuse me, de Blasio sometimes rides the subway as a promotional stunt, but he typically takes a private car. Yeah. According to Fortune, certain Goldman Sachs board members are unhappy with the idea of Solomon on the subway, but it doesn't bother him. Neither does the fact his DJ persona has become fodder for the media, at least not anymore. So Solomon was first outed as DJ Diesel by the New York Times in 2017 when he was co-president at Goldman Sachs in the midst of his campaign to be named CEO. Solomon said some of his associates urged him to hang up his headphones if he got the job, and he himself felt anxious that the public wouldn't take him seriously. He says, I thought for a minute, well, can I do this, can I not do this? He told Fortune, but with support from Blankfein, he decided to stick with it. He said, you know what, it's who I am, and nobody would tell me not to play golf. And why shouldn't I? Because I'm a CEO. He gives all his DJ earnings to charity, by the way. So now, as the head of Goldman's Goldman Sachs, Solomon wants to ensure he's more admired and respected than envied and feared. Good message. Getting his own coffee and showing up unannounced at office meetings throughout the day are small ways he does that. He also allows colleagues or guests who have an appointment to bypass his receptionist and knock on his door directly. What's more, Solomon made the news in March when he relaxed the company's dress code policy, making suits and ties optional. So, beyond company culture, Solomon's first year as CEO has come with some challenges. Overall revenue at Goldman has been on a decline since 2010 as assets like bonds and commodities dropped to 37% of the firm's net revenues, down from 72% in 2009. He's also tasked with pivoting Goldman into commercial banking. And there's lots more details about kind of the state of the company, which, you can read the article if you want. I'll just finish off here with whether it's running an investment bank or spinning records. If I decide I'm interested in something and I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, Solomon told Fortune. I'm going to really try to do it to the highest capacity of my ability, or I'm not going to do it at all. Fantastic. So yeah, some of you might be looking at this going, well, it's a big deal, a guy gets his own coffee, but it's the thing with Sachs is that there's been so much sort of furore around the kind of the big banks and fat cats and this kind of thing, that a guy kind of being positive about something, kind of, he's like, trying to be more of an everyman. And again, he wants to sort of run the company through respect rather than be feared. I think it's a positive thing, and it's nice to actually kind of highlight it. There's so much sort of negativity around big CEOs, and that's chief executive officers, for those who don't know. It's nice that someone's like trying to be a bit more of an everyman and going, you know what, no, things, I'm going to be more personable, I'm going to be more available. You don't have to go through a reception. If you've got an appointment with me, you come and see me, and, without having all these kind of barriers that kind of falsely inflate your importance, I'd say. If it's, don't get me wrong, receptionists and busy people need people to manage their diaries and this kind of thing. I'm not kind of, decrying that at all. But the fact he's trying to be more personable in his position to kind of go, no, this, this should be this and this should be that, and we don't need all this stuff. And again, he DJs on a weekend, and it's not the done thing, but it's his thing, and it's part of his life, and he enjoys it, and he gives it to charity, and I think it's admirable. In his position on Wall Street, there might be this, you need to behave a certain way, you need to act a certain way, and his response is, why? If I'm doing my job to the best of my ability and it's working, and these things I'm doing with the company are working, why would I kind of conform to this, this stereotype when I don't need to? So, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good story. So, well done to this guy. Well done, Mr. Solomon. Keep it up. And moving on, story number 3. So, story number 3 comes to us from The Guardian today. A banana artwork that fetched $120,000 is eaten by hungry artists. So, yeah, an artwork that sold last week for $120,000 was hailed as a symbol of global trade has been eaten in what might seem a fitting end for something that was an ever-ripening banana duct taped to a wall. Yeah. The piece, titled Comedian by Italian artist Maurizio Catalan, was on show at the International Gallery Perotin at Art Basel in Miami, when the New York performance artist David DeTuna ate it, saying he was hungry. The stunt on Saturday afforded a whole new meaning to gallery founder Emmanuel Perotin's comments earlier this week, when he said Maurizio's work is not just about objects, but about how objects move through the world. All is not lost for the buyer, who, let's face it, was going to have to deal with the demise of the banana at some point. The work apparently comes with a certificate of authenticity, and owners can replace the banana. DeTuna did not destroy the artwork. The banana is the idea. Lucien Terrace, a director at the gallery, told the Miami Herald. The idea soon lived on, with a fresh banana affixed to Perotin minutes later. This has been interesting, said Miami Beach Police Captain Stephen Feldman, who was called in to maintain order as the crowd swelled. The artwork was originally hailed by Perotin as a symbol of global trade, a double entendre, as well as a classic device for humour. Catalan, who bought the banana at a local fruit market, is known for his comic pieces, including a fully functional 18-karat gold toilet titled America, which visitors of the Guggenheim were encouraged to see. The toilet was recently stolen from an exhibition in England, which I reported on here months ago. In a 1999 piece, Catalan duct-taped famed Italian gallerist Massimo De Carlo to the walls of his own gallery. So this kind of follows on from a story the other day about the Turnip Prizes. I do not understand modern art. And I've got no problem saying that. I have not got a clue. The fact that someone could duct tape a banana to a wall, give it a fancy title, and it's sold for $120,000 blows my mind. It just baffles me. But yeah, they got somebody in, a performance artist who came in. It sounds like it was all kind of pre-planned for the audience and that. So he took it down, ate the banana, saying he was hungry, and then they replaced it, and there you go. So to me, it's like there's an old thing about like a ship, isn't there? Where you start at one end, and if you replace it, you replace the wood on a ship. At a certain point, at what point does it become a new ship, or does it always remain the original ship with modifications, even if you replace everything? Or there's a famous sketch in Only Fools and Horses with a Trigger and his council broom, which never need replacing. It's only had 10 new heads and 15 new handles or something. So yeah, if you can replace this banana, is it the original artwork? He's got a certificate saying, yes, you can do this and it remains the original. But is it? Because it's just another banana. So, you know, if I gave him a banana to duct tape to a wall, do I become part owner? It's just a weird thing. But that aside, like I say, modern art just blows my mind. And the fact that so many people, they had to get the police in to control the crowds who wanted to see somebody eat a banana that was duct taped to a wall is just... I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like I said in the other video, for me, art is a skill. It's a craft. It's something I could not do. This I could do. The glass of water, I could do. The toilet, the urinal lid on its back, I could create, or I could just accidentally create by knocking one over in a store somewhere. For me, art has to have an element that's expressive, that's something beyond me, for me to go, yeah, that is, you know, thought-provoking. This is not. This is thought-provoking because we've made it thought-provoking. You know, if this was stuck to a wall in a... You know, I'll do a modern art piece and it's a single trainer on top of a bus shelter, because they're everywhere. But if you put that in, you know, in maybe not in other countries, but in the UK, bus shelters, there's always a single trainer on top of it, a single running shoe, just sat there. You're like, where's the other one? Where's the guy with one trainer? And how did one get up there? And but all of a sudden, you put it on a shelf and put a title above it and put a spotlight on it, and it's worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. And all you have to do is stand there and say something really pretentious about what it means. And people are going, no, yeah, I can see that. How much do you want? I'll write you a check. Oh, I don't get it. Have at it. If you want to create this stuff and somebody wants to pay the money for it, and it's like anything I've always said, what's it worth to you? If this piece of work was worth $120,000 to the person who bought it, fine, it's your money, do with what you want. But I just don't understand it. So I'm not trying to belittle it, I just really don't get it. But yeah, there you go. So moving on, story number 4. This is not a good story, I'm afraid, but I think it's important to mention. This is in the Mirror today. So some thieves used drone to steal rare therapy dog from autistic girl aged 11. So it's a bit of a sensationalist headline. When you read the stories, I'm going to read it to you. It's not that people are using drones to steal animals. It's not that. They're using the drone to surveil gardens and see what's there, essentially. Okay, so heartless thieves left an 11-year-old girl with autism devastated after they stole her therapy dog, days after a drone flew over her home. Chloe Hopkins has cried herself to sleep every night since the Dalmatian named Lottie was taken from an outhouse in the Leicestershire village. Lottie, aged 3, helped Chloe keep calm, and the theft has left her thinking somebody hates her. Chloe's mum Gemma believes thieves used a drone to plot the cruel burglary which happened in Peeling Parva on December the 1st. Gemma told the BBC she saw a drone flying over her property before the lock on the outhouse was broken. It's left Chloe devastated. She said the young girl relied on Lottie to get her through the days, knowing she would see her dog after school. She doesn't understand with her autism. She thinks somebody hates her and that's why somebody's taken her dog. I watched my daughter crumple and there's nothing I can do as a parent to stop her being in pain. Lottie the dog suffers from a liver condition, which means she needs specialist food. Describing her importance, Gemma said she helps Chloe get through every day because she's got a best friend to come home to. She said the drone wouldn't have been flown by one of her neighbours, but could explain why thieves knew where to look. The family is offering a reward for Lottie's safe return. So this is one of those, you know, what the hell is wrong with people stories. We're hearing a lot about kind of pets being stolen and theft of animals and things from gardens. It's not new. there does seem to be, I always find, I used to work in a supermarket, there's an increase in thefts around this time of year because people want stuff and they haven't got money for stuff. And rather than just accept they haven't got money for stuff, they get other people to steal stuff or they steal stuff themselves. It was an absolute nightmare working in supermarkets. Just this week, my father got his pocket dipped in a supermarket near us, lost his wallet. Reported all his cards and everything, and he had some cash in there, not a huge amount, but again, it's a massive inconvenience because you've got to call the bank and call this and get this ID done and these new cards and these new things and this kind of thing. And it's just, you know what I mean? It's just, do be careful out there, guys. But I mean, this story is just horrible. And you wonder what do we have to do? What do we have to do to stop this happening? I mean, you know, people say, well, microchip your animal. It's like, okay, well, microchip the animal, but that doesn't work. That only works if that animal is then scanned. You know what I mean? I mean, are we going to get to a point where you literally have to LoJack your animal, where that chip in its neck is not just an identity and say, well, this animal belongs to and it has this medical condition and this, and this, but it's also like a GPS? Are we going to get to that point where it's like, to stop people doing this, we actually have to physically track our animals? And is that not then a slippery slope to other things? You know what I mean? But people who do this, they kind of see animals as commodity. It's a thing, it's an object. And they don't sort of see behind it. Like, no, in this case, it's not just a dog. It's a best friend. It's company. It's a calming influence. It's incredibly important to this young girl. Maybe they do know, and they just don't care, which is 10 times worse. But yeah, so hopefully the fact that this is on, you know, a big site, hopefully somebody will spot Lottie and she'll get returned. And again, if she's, you know, if she needs special food, you know, is she gonna, if it's, what did it say, liver condition? Yes. So, you know, if she's not fed the right things, this dog can get sick, go downhill quite fast. So any information, obviously, phone it in. But yeah, hopefully, I would love to be able to do a video on this next week and say, you know, in time for Christmas, the dog's back, you know, safely with this little girl. So let's hope, fingers crossed. Anyway, moving on. Story number 5. So this is in The Independent via MSN News. Archaeologists accidentally break an egg that's been going off for 1,700 years. Yeah. So archaeologists accidentally broke 3 Roman eggs that had been going off for 1,700 years. Excavators unearthed a basket of 4 chickens' eggs in a waterlogged pit during a dig in Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire. 3 of the eggs broke, releasing an overpowering, potent stench. However, the team managed to preserve the 4th one, making it the only complete Roman chicken egg found in Britain. Experts from Oxford archaeologists think the waterlogged pit may have been used for all sorts, as a sort of Roman wishing well. I do apologize, I can't remember words out this morning. Stuart Foreman, dig project manager, said there's a very good reason it's the first and only find in the UK. Added, in a pit that's been waterlogged for thousands of years, you get things that would never survive in a dry environment. So it's incredible you even get one out. They were so fragile. Alongside the eggs were dozens of coins, shoes, wooden tools, and a very rare basket. Edward Biddulph, who spent 3 years analysing the find, added passers-by would perhaps have stopped to throw in offerings, make a wish to the gods of the underworld to fulfil. The Roman associated eggs with rebirth and fertility for obvious reasons. We have found chicken bones and broken eggshells in Roman graves in Britain before, but never a complete egg. Experts said the pit was initially used for malting grain to brew beer from the 2nd to 3rd century AD before it started being used for offerings. Found the egg at a dig site located next to the A41 in Aylesbury, which lies on Old Roman Road, which connects St Albans and Cirencester. The only other example of a completely intact Roman chicken egg was recovered from under the hand of a child buried in Rome, which was reported in 2010. The British egg is now wrapped up in acid-free tissue in a plastic box at Oxford's archaeology's headquarters. We'll go and show at Buckinghamshire County Museum alongside other finds. So yeah, the reason I'm doing this story is like 1,700 years and they managed to get an egg out. I can't keep an egg intact in my house for a week without breaking it. This thing lasted 1,700 years. An egg. Yeah, so, you know, they found this dig site. They reckon it was an old Roman wishing well. It's kind of nice that even back in the day they had kind of these aspirational wishing well things. I don't know why, I just tend to think of more of a modern thing, but yeah, and they found 4 eggs and broke 3 of them with an excavator. Why use an excavator? Eddie Izzard did a routine on this about speedy archaeology, where they use, diggers and just destroying stuff just to get it out of the ground. Get that skull out of the way. Brilliant routine, I like it, Eddie Izzard. But yeah, you'd have thought if they were digging because they were looking for something. Clearly looking for something, I guess, of archaeological interest. Don't use a digger. Use something a little gentler, go a bit slower. But the fact that they got an egg, a 1700-year-old egg, and it's still intact. Fantastic, amazing. I'll duct tape it to a wall and say it represents the world and aging. Who will give me $120,000 for it? Anyway, so that's it, guys. Let me know what you think about all the stories I've discussed today. Can be found in the description below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me, what advert do you think needs spoofing? Is there an advert you think, just to you, is kind of just wrong or inappropriate, and you think, you know what, I could do a take on that? A la Ryan Reynolds. Answer in the comments, please, along with your thoughts you'd like to share. These are mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. They're just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.